Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, Nikki A.
Hello.
And we are back here to get into Real Housewives of Potomac Season 7 Reunion Part 2. Now, I'm going to let you know in advance, this is going to be a long one, okay?
Believe it.
Because there's a lot to talk about, and I wanted to make sure that I touched on everything. So this is going to be a long one, so get you a snack, get you a beverage, get whatever else it is that you get into when you're watching entertainment. Relax and just get ready to enjoy yourself. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it because we don't have any time to really waste or spare because there's a lot to talk about. So we pick up where we left off. We have Dr. Wendy Osefo saying, coincidentally, you have a problem, but the timing always happens when the camera starts rolling. And these are the facts. Meanwhile, Giselle knew about Robin's situation and nothing was mentioned on camera because if you remember on the snippet that was shown from the audio, or that was given from the audio from their podcast, when Robin says, I knew about this, blah, 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 and was talking about it, you can hear Giselle saying, and I knew, and you sent such and such to me. So Giselle was aware of what was going on. And Giselle mentioned nothing. Her situation with her uterus was not mentioned on camera, but she can always find time to talk about things concerning everybody else on camera.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
Then we have Candace saying, instead of talking about her uterus and what's happening in her personal life, she would rather lie and F with people's families. And you use this show to lie because you have nothing else going on. Then Giselle asks, how did I lie on Chris?
Now, see, let's use our brain.
You lied on Chris when you said he was a sneaky link and was trying to see if you were down. You lied on Chris when you said he grabbed Ashley's friend's butt, knowing daggone well Ashley didn't say that. You lied on Chris and you know how you lied on Chris. So let's stop trying to play like you don't know what's going on. You very well and full well know exactly what you have done, what you did, and what you're doing.
Okay.
Then Candace says, you sat there and said, Chris needs to apologize to me for what he did to me. We are still waiting for you to tell us what Chris did to you. When I tell y'all Candace is not playing, and yes, all of America is waiting, you have already said that he didn't do anything or say anything inappropriate. But in the same breath said he was a sneaky link and was trying to see if you were down. How do you glean that if nothing he did was inappropriate, Giselle?
I don't understand. I don't understand.
So yes, we want to know what Chris actually did. Giselle says, he made me feel uncomfortable. That's what I told you and her and her. Then Andy asks, well, was it that you were uncomfortable being alone in the room with him? Giselle cuts him off immediately and goes, yes! And then Andy finishes with, or was it that he did something to make you feel uncomfortable? I said, yes, Andy, you better clock into work. You better specify, and you better not let her cut you off. You better get your question out. Then Giselle is going to say, see, I feel like this is semantics.
BICTH.
Yes, Heffa, it is semantics. You keep saying I was uncomfortable and Chris made me uncomfortable as if the statements are synonymous. They are not.
Let me explain something to you.
Either you are uncomfortable with the optics of the situation or Chris did something to you that caused you to be uncomfortable. You being uncomfortable with being alone in a room with a married man is not Chris's fault. That is a you problem. You went into that room with him willingly. You could have let him know that immediately when you saw that you were alone with Chris. And Chris would have left and it would have been done. You had a whole conversation with the man, though you were uncomfortable. That's not Chris's fault. So yes, we are going to play semantics and we're going to specify because you are trying to play games with words, which is what narcissists do.
Now hold on.
I also want to point out another tactic that narcissists use, which is mirroring. Now, if you remember earlier in the reunion, they were talking about what had happened and who suggested the room. And Candace said, let's play semantics. Okay, he suggested you go to the room. Why would you? And then Giselle cuts her off and pretends not to understand semantics and says, why did he lie then? Why did he lie about it? Why did he lie? Now, when points are being made to specify how she was uncomfortable, Giselle says, see, this is semantics. So now we know what semantics is. Narcissists will mirror you and use the things you say to defend yourself against them, against you. And that's exactly what Giselle tried to do. But Candace read down, and I am glad that she and Andy both said what they needed, what needed to be said, even though Giselle tried to pull a Lenithia and overtalk them. Candace says, you like to use semantics and use them against people. And she's right. I couldn't hear everything Candace said because Mia opened up her big mouth and says, she just doesn't want to be in a room with a married man by herself. Mia, shut up. Her being in a room with a married man is not Chris's fault. She either didn't have to go in there or she could have asked him to leave once she discovered that they were alone. We are not putting this on Chris. Period. And why are you caping for the chick that just accused you of embezzlement on the National of Bravo? Are you serious right now? This chick laughed at you and accused you of committing a felony and you're taking up for her? Ma'am, you are not smart. Then Giselle says, Candace, I feel like you made this bigger. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Absolutely, Giselle.
You full of That's what you are. You full of
No, ma'am. You are fishing and you are trying to move the goalpost. Now that Candace, Wendy, and Andy are on your behind about how you play with words, now Candace is doing too much and it wasn't supposed to be that deep. Giselle is dangerous. This, again, is narcissistic behavior. When they get back into a corner, they move the corner. And I'm pointing this out because this is very important because I want people to understand the personality that's really being dealt with when it comes to Giselle and how dangerous it is for her to be on this platform.
I said what I said.
Narcissism is a real thing, and I'm not using this term loosely. I have dealt with narcissism for over a decade, not in of myself, but with a person that I've dealt with in my life. And I am able to recognize what it is. And I think it's important to highlight these things and draw attention to things because I'm not going to let a narcissist hide in plain sight in front of my eyes. I'm not going to do it.
Not on my watch.
So I'm taking the opportunity to use my platform, as small as it is right now, to highlight these things because it's dangerous to have her on this platform. It's not okay, and Giselle needs to go.
Your fave looked crazy today. Period.
Candace again ate down and said, and I'm paraphrasing, you have had over 6 months to come to me with this if it was a problem. You waited until you were on camera. You were around me and in my space. You hugged me. You laughed with me. You spoke with me. You had ample opportunity to address this. You decided to wait until you were in front of an audience of millions of people and come on TV and make my husband look like a predator. Then everybody, not everybody, but the main culprits, oh, we're not going to use that, especially me, we're not going to use that word.
I don't see the problem here. You know?
But that's exactly what Giselle has done. And she can't stand that she's being called out on her actions and that Candace is standing up to her. That's why all the side remarks and the side faces and all of this stuff from Giselle. Because she's being called out. The light is being shown on her and her actions and her behavior. Mia opens up her big mouth once again talking about some, no, Candace goes, shut up.
I love it. I love it.
And then Mia says no again. No, Mia, no, really, shut up. Because according to you, you threw a drink on Wendy because you claim she was telling lies on G, but you're defending Giselle lying on Chris.
That doesn't make no sense. My man.
And Giselle just accused you of embezzlement. Girl, please shut all the way up and don't come back down. That's why Wendy hits you with the, are you talking? Shut up. To be really honest with y'all, the only reason Mia is speaking up for Giselle is because she's trying to compete with Wendy sticking up for Candace.
I see straight through you.
We still have people saying, oh, don't use that word. I'm not going to let you use that word. But when it is being said that someone is touching someone without consent, that he's being a sneaky leak, that he should have known better than to be alone in the room with someone, it has predator undertones to it. And this is why you have to be careful. We live in a time, a day, a space, an age, an era, whatever you want to call it, where we have either found out about all these people that have gone to jail for things that they didn't do, that people are going to jail for things that they didn't do, people are losing their lives for things that they didn't do. We can't play like that on a platform like this. We can't play like that in general, but especially on a platform like this. We're not going to play these games. Then Mia opens up her mouth yet again and says, what's wrong with acknowledging that your friend felt like she was being treated inappropriately by your husband?
BICTH.
Then Giselle says, I didn't say that. I just said I was uncomfortable. First, Mia, let me tug on you. The problem is the claim is false. So it's not getting acknowledged at all, point blank, period. Second, Giselle, let me tug back over on you. You have actually said that. In the conversation that you had with Candace at the winery, when she was trying to understand what had happened with the room, who suggested it and whatnot, Candace said, Chris says that he suggested to leave the door open, and you said that it wasn't necessary. And Giselle, you said, trying to deflect, well, if he asked to leave the door open, then he knew that he was doing something inappropriate. So you did use that word, my dear. And I'm going to actually take the opportunity to insert this, the clip here. I can't show the video, but I am going to be inserting the audio just so that we know that my claims are backed up and I'm not just pulling this out the side of my neck. That I have validated claims that she actually did use the word inappropriate, okay?
Said that he asked you to talk, and you suggested that you go to your room.
I said, Giselle, can we talk? And she said, yeah, let's go to my room.
So she suggested going to your room?
99% sure that that's how that went down.
And when you got into the room, he said, should we leave the door open?
There was nobody in there.
Right.
So I even suggested, leave the door open. I don't need anybody, suggesting anything else, happen. And she was like, yeah, I don't need any rumors like that going on about me either.
I don't recall him saying, if he said that, then he knew this was inappropriate.
So then, Giselle, you also claimed that Chris did something to you and that Chris made you feel uncomfortable. So you both directly and indirectly accused him of being inappropriate. And I hope Chris brings that up when he comes out. And I'm surprised Bravo didn't roll that footage themselves. They dropped the ball. And I'm not saying, I know that they can't roll the footage on everything, but that was a pretty important piece of footage that they did not roll. But we're going to roll it here on this channel, okay? Then we move on. We get into Chris and Deborah, a.k.a. Ashley's friend, a.k.a. Deborah, okay? I am going to try and be nice, but I really don't like her because she tried it, okay? They played the footages of the alleged flirting, which Chris was definitely not doing. Andy asked Ashley what did she think when she saw the footage, and Ashley says she was a little surprised because Deborah's words did not align with the footages. But Deborah says editing left stuff out and that his mouth didn't line up with what he was saying, and that's what she maintains. Okay, girl. Whatever. Ashley, you just say the girl was lying, and you wanted to make Candace look like she had the same kind of husband as you, and then blew up in your face. Then Andy says, well, it seems like the Happy Eddie thing was a reach, and it was. And then Wendy reads down with, that was a very big reach, because it's almost as if the women get uncomfortable when shown normal respect and decency. Unfortunately, the men within this group are unable to communicate with other women in this group for fear that they may be pegged as something that they're not. And honestly, I didn't even really need to add anything to that because Wendy said that so eloquently, so elegantly, and classy. So we just gonna move on. We move to the IG live of Candace's. Andy summarizes the talking points of the lives, and Candace verifies all of it. Yes, all across these United States. Yes. Yes, that's what I said. Pacifically. Yes. Okay. Then Andy says that to his knowledge, Candace actually said some nice things about your business on the live. And Candace is like, oh, I said a lot of nice things about her business on the live, which she did. Robin says that she was not watching that live in real time and that she was only sent that clip. Here's the thing, Robin. I'm not going to let you slide on that.
No.
And here's why. You work in TV, and according to Mims, make it make sense. According to Mims, you secretly work in film too. So you understand editing. You understand how it works. You know that was a snippet. You know that it came from a live where there was more audio. There was more to it. You also knew that the live was recent based on how Candace was looking. And so most likely it was still active. Why would you not at the very least go to the active live and listen to the rest of it?
Use your common sense.
If it was something that Giselle sent to you and was talking ish, you would have given her the benefit of the doubt and got the facts first before blasting her on camera. Candace is supposed to be your friend. No. Candace is supposed to be your sister. And you couldn't even treat her with common decency. Candace, you need to pay attention. I'm going to get into that more later, but you need to pay attention. Then Robin said, I was in my feelings about how Candace was treating me. So you wanted to get back. Got it. Candace was like, you could have came to me like, what's tea? Why are you talking about my business? Like, what's going on? And Robin said she felt like everyone should hear it. And then she asked, why is she upset that she's playing Candace's words for their friends that she's talking about? Candace says, because you are my friend. Candace, no, she's not.
Okay.
And if I had heard you say something like that, my immediate reaction would be, oh, she must not be talking to me. Let me go to her and find out what's the beef. Then you tried to shame me in front of the group. And you did. You tried to embarrass her in front of the group. And you were the one who ended up looking like the fool. Okay? Then Robin says, you get upset about stuff because it's done on camera, which is not fair. We're all here. When we're filming, everything we do should happen on camera. Really, Robin? You want to run that back? When you just had a whole storyline that you hid. And I know someone try to say, oh, well, they handled everything prior to filming. No, we're not doing that. Because why was Robin wanting a prenup? She did not share the real reason for that. Robin was still dealing with the aftermath of Juan cheating during filming, and she did not speak on it. So we're not going to do that. However, shout out to the producers at Bravo with the timely shade and the shouting out of the clip from Watch What Happens Live when you tried to say that you didn't understand how what you shared had to do with what Candace and Chris had going on. And Andy gathered you with, I think it's about what you didn't share. Because you were in on it, Robin. You could have shared what was actually going on in your life. But instead, you chose to allow Candace to be attacked. Candace, Robin is not your friend. A question was asked about when Candace said she looked up to Robin the most in the group. And what about Wendy? And Candace says she doesn't understand why she has to have one girlfriend that she loves more. She says she's known Robin longer and she was the first person she connected with when she got on the show. Then Dr. Wendy Osefo came in and said, but when you said Robin is the most loyal to me, and then within seconds she's playing your voice on the JBL, I looked at you and said, this is who's most loyal to you?
Is this your king? Huh?
This is your man's? This is loyalty right here? This who you claiming? Oh, okay. Candace, this is where I have to tug on you just a little bit more. Because it's not about you having one friend that you like more. It's about recognizing people for who they are. Robin is not your friend and hasn't been your friend. She's not loyal to you. She has not been loyal to you. Stop giving people credit for things they have not earned. Stop defending a relationship with someone that is continuously disloyal to you. That's what it's about. And you should have just took your L. Because Wendy was right. How do you sit up there and say that Robin is the most loyal to you and she put you on blast in front of the whole group?
What's not clicking?
Meanwhile, Wendy has never done any of those things for you. Also, at the reunion, Wendy has been the only one, besides Andy, to be in your corner. The only one. And Robin, who is supposed to be the one that's the most loyal to you, has said nothing in your defense. Candace, not one thing. And I bet when Chris comes out, it's going to be the same thing. So, that's what it's about, Candace. Then Robin says, ladies, it's not a competition here. Huh? First of all, Robin, you shut up because nobody said it was a competition. Don't sit up there and try to deflect and get mad because people are calling out how you've been disloyal and how you've been contradictory and how you've been inconsistent in your friendship with Candace. You can hold your L as well. You are disloyal and don't really see it for Candace. And we want her to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up!
That's what it's about, period. And we want her to be able to see the people who are truly and actually really here for her, like Wendy, and walk away from the people who aren't like you, and Giselle, and Ashley, and Mia, and Karen, quiet as kept. Then they break. They go to lunch. They come back. Well, they try to come back. Robin decides to announce that she needs to go change her tampon.
You nasty.
Now, here is the thing. I am all for normalizing periods, and women should not be looked at as gross for having them and discussing them. However, there is a time and there is a place. And to just announce that like that, I thought it was a bit trifling. Like, Robin, you could have just said you needed to go to the bathroom. And I feel like if Wendy or Candace had said some mess like that, they would have been labeled as the most disgusting things on the planet that you could ever hear. So I thought it was tacky. I thought it was trifling. I thought it was uncouth. You are around people that you know. You are around a lot of women, but you're also around people that you probably don't know like that. You're around, men. And even though, like I said, periods should be normalized, but depending on how someone grew up and what have you, they might not necessarily be the most comfortable. You can't just spring that on somebody like that. And it's different when you're on the show and you're like, oh, I don't feel like, going on the trip because I'm on my period and I'm cramping. Like, you're on the show, you're sharing your reality. That's what you're dealing with within that moment. But to be at the reunion, like, girl. That's like me being in a business meeting and it's both men and women there, and I'm like, I need to excuse myself. I need to go change my tampon. Like, no. You just say, I need to go to the bath. I need to run to the ladies' room. That's it. Like, that, it wasn't the right moment for that. Now we're officially back. We talk about Giselle's segment. Don't care for her house or her podcast. Robin says they never even listened to a podcast before they had their own. And I'm with Wendy. That's not wise.
But you stupid.
You're supposed to research the industry that you're trying to get into before you actually get into it. I have watched so many channels like mine before I started. It's not even funny. And I still watch those channels. I still research things and all of that. You don't just dive in, girl. And Robin would have been, well, we're still successful. Don't hate. And it was something in her voice. I heard the hatred and the disdain for Wendy in her voice. Robin, ain't nobody hating on that tired, raggedy, boring podcast. Your podcast is whack. It's only quote unquote successful because of the carryover from the show, not because the podcast is actually good. Let's be very clear. Then we get into Karen's segment. We get into Karen doing everything at the same time as everybody else. Karen says she launched her fragrance 4 years ago, and at the same time she announced the candles are coming next. And she was being gracious to Wendy when she brought her candle over because she didn't want to steal Wendy's thunder, but her candle was already planned. Okay, we don't really care, but okay, Karen. Then she says for the live show that she already announced it on the same day Janelle announced their live show for the podcast. Again, okay, Karen. Okay, girl. It really is okay. Okay. You be lying, but it's okay. Then they asked if Karen owes her idea to the Countess and Friends. And Karen tried to be like, oh no, Candace hit it on the head when she came and called it a variety show. And Eddie said, well, that's what the Countess show is. It's a variety show also. She goes, oh, well, I know that, but you asked me what my inspiration was, and it was Carol Burnett. Andy said, I thought you said it was Wendy Williams. Karen said, oh, it's all good, Andy. Be shady. Andy, I got it. Karen, you are full of it. And yes, Andy was definitely trying to be shady because it's like, girl, just be real. Just say, I thought Giselle and Robin had a good idea to take this show live, and it inspired me to want to go live as well. Karen, you foolish. You're full of it. Very completely full of it. You try to act like you're that girl, and you're really not. You just play that girl on TV. And that's why a lot of people are irritated with you. I feel like that's why Charisse is irritated with you. She's just not going about it the right way. I will say this. I do feel like Charisse has valid reasons as to why she doesn't like Karen. I don't think she's going to come on the reunion and articulate those points properly because she does not know how to articulate well. But I do think that there are valid reasons as to why she does not like Karen. Karen is full of it. And she is faking her way to the top. And that can be very annoying. So, anyways, we move on. They ask about the Ladams. And they start talking about the Ladams rising. And Giselle, trying to be shady, asked, well, when you said Ladams rise, did anybody stand? Giselle, listen, at least the Ladams were there. Meanwhile, your menu was empty. So, girl, whether or not they rose or not, at least they showed up. So you cut it out. Andy asked if there was a group that was called the Robins, what would they be? Karen said boring. I laughed. I don't like her, but she ain't lie. Karen did not lie. We talk about Giselle's hysterectomy. My sentiments reflected Candace's. Okay.
I don't care.
And at this point in the game, some of y'all might feel like that's insensitive or whatever, what have you. But when we get later on into the reunion, you will see why I feel and felt the way that I did and do when it comes to Giselle and whatever it is that she's going through. The only people I felt for in this moment were her kids. And if it wasn't for her kids, I wouldn't feel anything at all. But anyway, talk about Giselle's hysterectomy. She says that in 7 years, this was the first time she had gotten so much feedback from women. Candace said, yeah, because it was the first time you were real about something. I said, ooh, and you better read, period. Why would you don't share anything? This was the first time you actually shared something. Besides Jamal being a cheater. She talks about the surgery. Andy asks her how it was to tell her kids on camera about the surgery. She gets emotional and goes, we'll talk about it later. Andy says, no, we'll talk about it now. I said, okay, Andy, you clocked in today. Andy had clocked in. Andy was present and accounted for. He said, no.
Oh, baby, no, that ain't gonna work.
We gonna talk about it Now, today, right now. So wipe those tears. Giselle, you are not Nene. You can't pull stuff like that. You ain't Nene Leakes. You are not Lenita, your girl. You need to, girl, get to talking. In the words of Jamie, that's me, Giselle had to come to the front and share with the class. Okay? So she continues to talk about it. The surgery went longer than expected. Most of the time they do. I had to have a surgery, an ovarian surgery. It was only supposed to be an hour. It went a little over 2. So, I mean, it usually happens like that because screening is only going to show so much. Once they get in there and they really see what's really going on, what's really happening. And so typically, especially with stuff like invasive stuff like a hysterectomy and stuff like that, typically if they tell you 3 hours, you add at least another 4 onto that, okay? Just to be on the safe side. And sometimes, yeah, you gotta overnight because they're literally cutting you open. And I don't know why the heck she told her daughters, she's like, I told them that I wasn't going to spend the night, but it ended up being 8 hours. You have to spend the night for a hysterectomy, period. You always have to spend the night for a hysterectomy. Because they have to make sure, number one, that you can get food down without throwing it up before you go home. And you have to be able to pass the bowel movement safely before you can go home. You always overnight after a hysterectomy. Always. For them, or they're at least going to keep you for an extended period of time. But for the people that I have known that have had hysterectomies, whether they've been young or older, they've had to overnight. One of my best friends had a hysterectomy, and she was in the hospital for 2 days. So we not finna do that. Like, please don't. Anywho, yeah. Anyway, surgery went longer than expected. Most of the time they do. Andy said, "Glad you're okay. Glad you're happy. That you did it." Same.
Oh. All right.
We move on. They talk about how private Giselle is and how much she doesn't share. Yet, she seems to have expectations of everybody else, talking about everything else. Of course, Giselle tries to say it's not true. Giselle, yes it is. You've done it with pretty much everybody. Wendy, Mia, Karen, Katie, Sharice, Monique, Ashley, and Candace. You name it! That's pretty much everybody, baby. That's for everybody. Everybody, man. Okay, like that's everybody. Anytime someone asks anything about you and what you have going on, you shut it down. Giselle then tries to blame production. Well, I mean, if production, I share, but if production doesn't want to show it, then production doesn't want to show it. Giselle.
BICTH.
We literally have footage of them asking you if you were dating, and your response was, that's none of your business. So you can miss me with trying to blame editing and the producers. It has nothing to do with that. There's a whole trailer from last season of you supposed to be having a breakdown and all this stuff going on and what have you. But it was not aired. So we're not going to sit here and act like you don't request for things to be taken out. There was a whole situation that happened at the RoboCon, and you had that taken out. So please miss us with the bullshit, okay? We're not gonna do it. We're not. I'm gonna also say this too. This is another thing with narcissists. Nothing is ever their fault. It's always somebody else's fault. It's always somebody else's fault. She did it with Candace. I think you're making this bigger. Oh, it's editing's fault. It's always. They are never the culprit. They are never the reason. They are never the problem. It's always somebody else's fault. Then Giselle says, as in regard to her not sharing whatever and what have you, I'm not going to sit with people that I don't like, and points to Wendy. And Wendy pointed back and said, I don't like you either, sweetie. Love that.
I love it. I love it.
Love that for Wendy. I'm glad that Wendy did that. To Giselle with her disrespectful. Okay. Giselle finishes and talk about my health issues. Then leave the show. Have fun.
Now, see, let's use our brain.
Well,
That is not an excuse. You could have had a moment with Ashley and Robin and had it filmed for the show. You did not have to film a scene with Wendy in order to share that. You could have filmed yourself in the doctor's office with the doctor. You could have filmed a phone call of them calling you with results or whatever the situation may be. There were things that could have been done that felt a little bit more intimate with the details of what you're going on with your health in your life than what you did. We got a phone call in the car with Robin with you driving. That's what we got. And we got a conversation with you and your daughters in that. What we got mostly out of that conversation is they don't know how their bodies work. We didn't really get a lot about you. So no, Giselle. You just want to be private and be in everyone else's business, and you're getting called out on it. Andy asks, do you not see a difference between your expectations about what other people talk about versus what you talk about?
Now hold on.
Listen, Andy must have sipped his coffee during the lunch break. Somebody must have tapped him on the shoulder, okay? Something happened. Because when I tell you Andy is clocked in, present, and accounted for, Andy is here today. Andy is here today. Giselle says, if I ask someone a question and they don't want to answer, then that's fine. Karen says, oh, but you dragged for that, though.
Period!
I said, come on, Kern. Come on, Kern. Come on, Kern. Giselle tried to say no, and Karen said, oh, baby, I'm speaking from experience, and she definitely is, and I wish Bravo would have ran it back. That's what I don't like. They did not show any footages, for any throwback footages for Giselle. They did it with Robin, they did it with Mia, they did it with Ashley, they did it with Karen. They did not do it for Giselle, and y'all need to do something. Bravo, y'all need to do some investigating. I don't know who y'all have on the team for Real Housewives of Potomac and who it is that knows Giselle. Somebody had brought out, I don't know if it's one of her sorors. I don't know what's going on. But whoever it is, they need to be fired and Giselle needs to be fired, because it does not make sense that they can drag and call out everybody else's tea and spray everybody else with their tea, but Giselle don't get sprayed.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
Which is why I'm a spray it on my channel, period. Because you did that ish. The biggest thing was with Karen. Karen did not want to talk about her tax problems and why she moved out of Potomac. She didn't want to talk about whether or not she eats the eye candy. Giselle, and you had a fit. You had a fit then with the tax problems and the moving out of Potomac. And you had a fit now that she don't want to talk about what she doing with her coochie and if she giving it to Ray or somebody else. You had a fit so much so that you had to go and pull some freaks out the attic and dust her off and bring her on the show. You have a fit when you can't get somebody else's tea but have the nerve to hide your own. Giselle, stop it. You think everyone else is supposed to share except you. Candy says she is a bully when they don't want to share. Then Mia chimes in, is this what cancer looks like? Oh my God. And this is why I say she capes for Giselle, only because Wendy had been backing up Candace. Mia, shut up. Because you've been sitting up here all this time caping for this lady. This lady just sat up here on this stage and accused you of embezzlement. And you wanted to sit up here and talk about well, why can't we just say that you understand that your friend was uncomfortable because she was treated by your husband inappropriately? Mia. And then you want to sit up here and say something like this? And then you had the nerve to sit up here and say what you said later on to Wendy, which we going to talk about that too. I'm getting into everybody, okay? Everybody. We going to move on. We going to get there, but Mia, shut up. Andy asks about Steve and basically, and dude from Winter House. And basically Giselle is talking about both of them. Look, Giselle and dude from Winter House are using each other. That's not a real thing. Robin asked about the age difference. It doesn't matter. Robin, worry about the age difference between Juan and the girl he was at the hotel with, okay? Worry about the age difference between Juan and the students he was supposed to be protecting on the basketball team. That's the age differences you need to be worried about, okay? We move Now we get into Wendy's segment. Andy asks about her health, and she says she's taking it more seriously. Andy asks Mia about her relationship with Peter. She's like, what about it? That he's friends with G? Then Andy tries to get clarification on the whole girlfriend thing. Then Andy says he doesn't understand why she threw a drink at Wendy. Wendy didn't really say anything bad about your husband. Then Mia starts talking about the way she remembered it as that there were a lot of things that were said, and Wendy just kept spitting things out that had nothing to do with what she was trying to talk about. Wendy says that's not true. Then Wendy goes, I'm talking to Andy. Huh? Then who you think you talking to? She should have came and stopped you in your home out. Like, who you think you talking to? Anywho, like you, hey man, I mean, who you think you talking to? Like you ain't been interrupting people this whole entire time.
I mean,
trying to hold down your accuser, girl. Go ahead, Wendy. Go ahead, Wendy. Andy said it seemed like whatever the drama was between she and Peter, you tried to turn it into something that it wasn't accurate. You tried to set her up. She said she didn't intend to argue with Wendy. So what? You thought she was just gonna let you accuse her of being a bad businesswoman on national television, and she was gonna sit there and smile cookies and rainbows at you? Girl, bye. Mia says I wanted to talk about business, and she wanted to talk about threesomes. Candace said no. You took it to a whole nother level when you started throwing drinks. Then she started talking about threesomes. Wendy said, are you kidding me? You are sitting here almost a year later and you can't take ownership of what you did?
This is where I'm starting to get aggravated.
And Wendy, now I have to tug on you. That's why you should not have apologized. You apologized in the midst of this girl still walking around high and mighty and icing you out. And I'm ashamed of Bravo because y'all should have stepped in and told this heifer, Wendy's coming back. And you're not going to chastise her. You're going to treat her with dignity and respect and treat her like a human. She's going to be back in this house. She's going to be at the events and things of that nature. We're not going to do it. But Wendy, these are the things that were done to you, and you sit up there and you apologize to that woman. Then this heifer sat up there and was like, oh, she talking to me, she ain't apologizing to me. Then this lady sat at the table and Mexico was like, I don't have nothing to apologize for, I ain't do nothing to you. And you took your behind up there to that lady's room to have a conversation for what? That lady don't respect you. She wouldn't have got nothing from me. Sometimes you do not have to be the bigger person. I know Michelle Obama says when they go low, we go high. But sometimes when they go low, you just gotta leave them where they at. Sometimes, yeah, you go high, but you go high for yourself. You go high for yourself and by yourself, not with them. Going high doesn't mean that you have to get in and allow yourself to be treated abusively. Sometimes going high means walking away from the situation and being okay with the fact that we just not gonna be friends. I'm not gonna like you and you ain't gonna like me, and I'm okay with that because I like me. Sometimes you have to go high internally.
I'm gonna tell them.
And Wendy, that's what you should have done. Wendy's going in, letting Mia know what you did was effed up. And Mia goes, all right, well, do you want to talk about how you slept with Peter?
When will it stop?
First of all, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Who cares?
I don't care.
You said that like you were doing something, like you had some tea. Girl, you ain't had no tea. And even if she did smash Peter for a restaurant, it doesn't make you any less wrong for throwing a drink at her and on her.
What's not clicking?
And hitting her with your purse. You wanted to try to you also tried to pull a Nene, because Nene does that too, where if someone is getting in on her, she would just pull something out of thin air to try to throw you off. Where you like, what? Huh? To try to move the conversation along and away from her. And that's what Mia tried to do, and it backfired. But it is telling. That is why you don't like Wendy. You probably heard that she had got some Zeke from Peter, and you want some too. Oh girl, you is mad and you is thirsty, and I see straight through you. And I know it's not true because Wendy is a businesswoman, and if she had sat on Peter for a business opportunity, she would have seen it through and not walked away from it the way that she did. So nah, word to Candace, the Dillard, the Bassett. Y'all cannot just say whatever y'all want because y'all ain't got nothing else to talk about.
I mean,
Then she says she had dinner with him prior to filming. Okay, and she was building a business relationship with him. That's what you're supposed to do. Just because you had to bust it open in the island of Miami with G to sit on the board that you've been kicked off of doesn't mean that Wendy has to do that for business opportunities. And that's why Wendy said, you smashing for lobsters. We don't all do that. So, girl, bye. Then we get into Robin calling Wendy antagonistic when she was the one that had a drink thrown in her face. Robin starts off by saying, I don't know how I would react if someone threw a drink on me. Robin, we all know you were wild out. So let's not play that game. Just say Wendy's response was valid. Then she tries to say that she didn't want to see her fighting on television. But Robin, where was his concern when Mia was the aggressor? See, you went home and you practiced this response because you saw the feedback that you were getting as the show aired. So you went and you practiced this response and you thought that this was going to be enough to explain your behavior when you got to the reunion Mammoth night. Why did you not tell Mia to sit down? And tell Mia that she was being antagonizing prior to the drinks being thrown? Where was all of this concern? Why were you not like, hey, Mia, let's not do this. Let's not treat, Wendy like that. It's not that deep. We don't know the detail. Like, where was all of that when Mia was the one aggressing the situation, when Mia was the one antagonizing the situation and trying to bully on Wendy? Where was all of that then?
I would like to see it.
Then Karen says, well, why the fighter shut up then? Robin says, yes, I said that because I didn't want her fighting on TV. But I also said, if you don't, then stop. That's the part people are missing.
No.
Robin, you stated that to her like she was the aggressor and didn't have the right to be upset. What you should have said is, I don't want you doing anything that I have you looking crazy on TV, especially because you're the victim. You know how they like to turn stuff, blah, 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 blah. And let the whole pop you in the mouth because you doing all of this out of it. She had the right to do whatever it is she wanted to do with her mouth in that moment because that woman assaulted her. On top of the fact that you should not have supported Wendy being iced out. So miss me with acting like you support Wendy. You and Giselle sit up there and ran to me. Oh no, you did exactly what she wanted you to do. You did what she wanted you to do. You didn't go to Wendy's corner. Are you okay? Are you all right? She shouldn't have done that. Miss me. I don't care what Bravo shows. I don't care what Bravo shows. You did not have real support for Wendy. And I am glad that Wendy did not let Robin slide. She said, all that is good and fine and dandy, or that's cute, but that doesn't change anything for me. Wendy said, I had just been physically assaulted not once, but twice. And you look at me and you say, you're being antagonistic. She said, if somebody, anybody, hits even dumb at Mia. Right now in the face, I would say, hold up, this is messed up. The only person you said something to was the one who got attacked. And that's exactly what I just said. And I wrote that in my notes before Wendy said. Then Robin says, I'm not justifying what she did, but I understood her frustration, and that's BS. And that nullifies everything that you just said prior to that. Mia brought that frustration on herself. Mia took it upon herself to embarrass Wendy down to the bar one. Mia got what she got, period. And the fact that you say that you support and understand Mia is complete BS. Because Mia started, instigated, and aggressed that whole thing.
My attitude is, don't start nothing, won't be nothing.
That whole thing was all Mia's doing. Mia started on that situation before y'all even left the house. And you say, I understand her frustration? When she brought the frustration, she should have just left Wendy alone. And she wouldn't have been frustrated. Not at one point did you tell Mia, leave Wendy alone. Just let it go, just leave it alone. Whatever. Y'all sat there and y'all let Mia be verbally abusive to this woman. And then be physically abusive to this woman. And you want to sit there and say that you understand Mia's frustration? Robin, get out of here.
The door.
Get out of here. Then, Robin has the nerve to say, because she wants to be like her henchman, Giselle. Second of all, you and I were not friends. So that makes the mistreatment of Wendy okay? Because I don't like you, I'm going to support you having to endure abusive behavior? Nah, Robin, we not doing that.
Oh, no, but what we not finna ready to do. Wait, hold up.
Then she tries to say that she thought Karen would have been the perfect one to tell them to cut it out. I don't even like her, but that's not her job nor her responsibility. And to be honest, I would rather Karen excuse herself from the situation than to egg it on like you and Giselle did.
So there.
But you tried it though. Karen said, what you not finna get ready to do is bring my name up. And then you gonna try to shut Karen down. Karen was like, no, you brought me up and so now I'm in it. I said, okay, Karen. Karen said, you taped it. You were the aggressor at the table. You're not gonna make me responsible for diffusing something that you were responsible for gaslighting. And he asked, well, is it gaslighting or throwing gas on the fire? And to be completely honest, it was actually both.
Okay.
But in the context of the conversation that's currently being had, Karen definitely meant throw gas on the fire, but it was both. Robin definitely gaslit that situation, and she gaslit the situation. She gaslit Wendy. She gaslit Wendy through that whole thing. So it was both. But as far as for the context of that conversation being had, Karen definitely meant throwing gas on the fire, on the situation. And Robin, yes, you did make the situation worse. You never held Mia accountable, only Wendy. You only chastised Wendy. You didn't check on Wendy. You checked on Mia. Just stop, Robin. Just stop. Then we talk about Sharice having to hold her back. And I love the question. If Sharice's natural reaction was to put her hand on you, then doesn't that mean that you were behaving in an aggressive manner? Andy mentions that they debated about this and that they talked about it on Watch What Happens Live. And Robin says, I didn't need her to put her hand on me. Robin, that is beside the point. Sharice moved to hold you back. You don't try to hold someone back because they're not being aggressive.
Okay.
Wendy says, I don't know where y'all are from, but if you're in a heated discussion and someone is coming towards you, anything can happen. Robin goes, I said I'm standing, and you did it in an aggressive manner. Even Andy agreed. Robin, cut it out. You were being aggressive. Because if Wendy had done that to you, if Candace had done that to you, if Monique had done that to you, you would be ready to go off. You would be calling her aggressive and all types of dangers and all types of other things. We're not going to do it. Then we move into Ashley flip-flopping her stance on violence. Ashley's response was basically Candace had people on her side and Wendy had no one making sure that she was okay. And while I understand that, and while I get that point of view, ma'am, you wrote a statement for the person who was violent and you weren't even there.
What's not clicking?
So Ashley, you can miss me. You cannot be in defense of violence for one situation and against it in another. Just say you like Wendy and you don't like Candace. You thought you ate. You thought you were saying something. You did not. And you can miss me. What you did in the situation with Monique and Candace was despicable. And it was hateful. And it was spiteful. And if it was if Mia had threw a drink at Candace, you would have done the same thing. You would have been right on Mia's head top. Right on Mia's tip. So we're not going to sit here and we're not going to play like you did it because you felt like the situation was unfair. No, you just happen to like Wendy. You happen to actually like Wendy. You don't like Candace. Let's be very clear. I also want to take this time to point out for the people who are saying that the difference between the Monique situation and the Mia one is that Candace deserved it and Wendy didn't. Just say you don't like Candace. Candace didn't do anything differently than what Wendy did. Candace ran her mouth. So did Wendy. Candace hadn't done anything to Monique. But I guess if Wendy had said, throw a drink at me, Mia, then she would have deserved it and we would be having a different conversation right now. Nah, y'all can miss me. And to say Candace deserved it, that's mean. Because she didn't, just like Wendy. And I'm going to leave it at that. Then we get to Giselle and her hypocritical behind. And how she, too, had different reactions with Monique versus Mia. Giselle tried to say what Monique did to Candace was different and blah, blah, blah. It was not. Someone was assaulted. And not once did you check to even see if Wendy was okay. And you allowed her to be iced out. Had Wendy beat Mia's behind for throwing that drink, you would have had her kicked off the show. Then Andy still clocked in and still on Giselle's behind. He said, you're saying that Chris made you feel a certain way. Giselle said, yes. Andy said, okay, so listen to her. She feels a certain way. She got a martini thrown into her eyes. She felt violated. Giselle's response, right, but I don't like her, so that doesn't matter to me.
Are you serious to me right now?
Now, to bring it back to earlier, to what I was saying, now do you see why we don't care about the dwindling uterus comment? This is why I feel no ways.
I don't feel no ways
About the dwindling uterus comment. Because Giselle is hateful and spiteful. And that's why in the review of part 1, I likened it to Mean Girls when Regina George got hit by that bus and nobody really cares. Like, oh, okay, I'm gonna send you a little card or whatever. But it didn't really hit nobody deep in their feels. Nobody was really hurt and devastated over the fact that that lady got hit by that bus because of how she treats me. It's like, but she evil. Giselle is despicable, and she gets whatever it is that she gets. Now, if she starts to change her behavior and change her tune, which I doubt, because narcissists don't change, she would have to like really be real about who she is and the things that she deals with. She would have to go get therapy. She would have to get help to actively want to make changes and do better. I don't see Giselle doing that because she's too prideful. So that ain't gonna happen. But that's why we don't care about the dwindling uterus comment. Because, as someone else brought out in a comment under another video, they dehumanize Wendy. And they do it to Candace as well. But I'm supposed to sit up here and remember that Giselle was a human? No. When she starts treating people the way that she would like to be treated, then I can change how I look at her. But as for right now, no, I'm not going to do that. Wendy was attacked and had alcohol thrown in her eyes and on her clothes. And it does not matter because you don't like her. Like I said before, Giselle is vile. She is a mean girl and she is vicious. And Bravo should not be supporting this behavior. Giselle is jealous because Wendy has everything she doesn't and more. Giselle is miserable and truly, I can't stand her. The only reason why I'm watching the new season of Girls Trip is for Candace. And I still stand by Candace and the uterus comment because honestly, as much as a lot of people aren't going to like to hear this, Giselle deserved it.
It ain't changing over here.
Wendy's feelings are clearly hurt. And I truly felt bad for her in this moment. Because, and I think the reason why we see a difference of how Wendy was acting on the show versus the reunion, I felt like Wendy thought that she was really going to actually have some support at the reunion, especially since she was the one that apologized first. She went to, Mia's room to make amends or whatever and what have you. So I feel like Wendy felt like she was going to have some support. And she had support from Candace, but that was it. And from Andy. But I felt like maybe she thought the rest of them would come around. And when they didn't, and nobody was forcing Mia to own up to her shenanigans, I think that's why Wendy was so hurt. And she said, I'm usually a strong person, but that was effed up. And the way it was handled within this group was effed up. It took everything in me not to beat the ish out of you. And not because I couldn't, but because of who I am as a woman. Then she says the only reason she went to have that conversation in Mexico was so they could move forward as a group. But Wendy, that's the problem.
You're clicking. But you're clicking down.
You didn't need to move forward with her. That girl don't like you. You were the victim. And you were the one making all the effort. Stop trying to please her and Robin. They aren't worth it. Then she hit the Mimi Faust. You violated me to my deepest core. You hurt me to my core. Okay, she hit. I said, come on, Mimi. Come on, Mimi Faust. And Giselle's raggedy behind, weren't y'all kissing or vagina bumping? Giselle, weren't you talking about Chris's penis every chance you got? Didn't you hug him at Karen's party? Didn't you touch him at the video release when you walked past him? But you still sit up here on this stage talking about he made me feel uncomfortable.
I see you. I see you. We good. Okay. We good.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like I told, I'm clocking Giselle at every opportunity I get because she's full of it. And she's a narcissist, and I don't play games. Wendy says it was the tequila. Wendy, all I'm going to say is this.
I've got to get you. Hooray!
Whatever happened, for whatever reason, don't let it happen again. Stay away from Mia. That's not your friend. You see how she does Jackie. And that's dang near her sister. That girl don't like you. Stay away from Mia. Don't even breathe in her direction. You couldn't even give her directions if she was lost. Now we get into the topic of colorism.
No! God, please, no! No! No!
And though I do agree with some of the sentiments of others that I feel like they should have had a moderator, and I feel like the conversation didn't really go the way that it should have, because we needed people that could expound on past the definition of colorism, because people, just like with white people, like to denounce racism or their part in it because they don't want to be labeled as a racist. And sometimes, even though you might engage in racist activity, it doesn't necessarily make you a racist. It just makes you ignorant. And the thing about it is, we have to have these conversations so that we know what things look like, so that we can avoid doing those things. So, but you need a moderator in order to be able to explain that, and they didn't have that, and therefore the conversation did not go the way it needed to go. However, we get into the topic. The things that I did like, I like that Andy understood his place and he scooted all the way back. Word to Jamie, that's me. And let the ladies come to the front. Again, word to Jamie, that's me. I'm a subscriber and I'm on her Patreon. Please. I mean, if you listening to me, if you subscribe to me, you should already be subscribed to Jamie. But by some happen chance, if you happen to listen to me and you're not subscribed to Jamie That's Me, please go follow Jamie That's Me. Please go on her Patreon. It is worth the coin. She's amazing. She's everything, and I love her. So yes, you will hear me quoting her different sayings and things like that on here because I adore her. But anyways, moving on, I appreciate that Andy understood his place in this conversation and allow the ladies to at the very least have the conversation among themselves as black and biracial women, as opposed to him trying to moderate. So there's that. I like that Candace read the definition so that there was no confusion of what colorism actually is, so that everyone can be on the same page, because some of y'all think colorism goes both ways, and it does not. Just like racism does not go both ways. Colorism is the shadow of racism. Okay, so we get into this. Candace admits that she is known to pop off. You know, basically she's known to get loud, she cries and things of that nature, and she is labeled for it. She has been called a big baby, over emotional, immature, and a child, to name a few. She notes how Robin has screamed and put her fingers and faces down to the restaurant and has not received the same backlash. Robin says, well, I've been called a mean girl and aggressive multiple times today. Yes, Robin, today. Y'all have been coming at Candace's neck since she got here. And even things that you had done prior to Candace getting here, you had not been called out on. Maybe by us, but not on the show. But the ladies on the show collectively came at Candace's neck. As soon as she dropped one tear, oh, you a big baby, you're emotionally immature, all of these things. But nobody told you that you were aggressive and that you were emotionally imbalanced and all of these things. Then here comes Giselle playing dumb. She goes, I'm sorry, I'm confused with the whole emotional one of the group. What does your skin tone have to do with you being emotional?
What?
Candace said, because I'm villainized and I'm ridiculed. Giselle says villainized for being emotional. No, I'm saying, what does you being emotional have to do with your skin color?
Shut the up! Shut the up!
Giselle, stop. You know what Candace is saying. You're trying to act confused because you are the main culprit and the leader of the shenanigans that goes on within this group. Candace asks, am I not making sense? Wendy says, I understand what you're saying. We all understand what you're saying, Candace. Then Kurt brings it on home, relating it to the plantation, that her family owns and that her ancestors, grew up on, and how the darker person was in the field, the lighter one was in the house. We know this. We all know this. We know that how you got treated depended on your skin tone, and we are now doing it to each other. Kern was like, what Candace is saying is based upon the pigment of her skin, and given the same set of circumstances, she is treated more harshly than what Robin or I would have been. Period. It's not that hard to understand. Then here comes Ashley's big-headed self, completely missing the point. Yeah, but how do we know that? Candace is who Candace is, and Robin is who Robin is. How can we say that Candace is treated a certain way, and it's not because of her personality, and it rubs people the wrong way sometimes? Ashley, you sound like a white woman. Because that's exactly, especially white women versus black women, that is what white women do to us, especially in the corporate world. Like, I mean, I just think, you're just a girl. That's exactly what the ladies did to Ogum on Basketball Wives. When it came to Ogum versus Evelyn, they literally tried to say it's just her personality. It's just something, we know each other and we're used to each other's personality. But with Ogum, it just comes off a way. No. Because you're not going to tell me that picking up a thick glass cup and throwing it at somebody's face does not come off, that it comes off less threatening than somebody just saying, I can break your neck if I want to, but I won't. Excuse me? That's what we gonna do? And since they're in a seat, don't move, don't nothing, they just said it out their mouth. That's more threatening than somebody picking up a glass and literally slamming it into somebody's face. That's what we're doing? Okay. Like, Ashley, no. You sound like a whole white woman right now. And what you said made no sense. If two people are acting in the same way, and one person is labeled as offensive, and the other person is not labeled as offensive, and the only difference is the person who is deemed unoffensive is lighter complected, and the person who is labeled offensive is darker complected, then we have to ask the question why the reception is different for one versus the other. And I like that Karen said that if Candace says this is how she feels, and you have to acknowledge it, period. But Ashley is not going to validate Candace. That is how much Ashley is jealous of and hates Candace, that you won't even acknowledge this woman's experience.
The truth.
And I'm trying not to get emotional, but I've been in a situation where I've dealt with someone that would not and still will not to this day acknowledge my experience in being in a relationship with them. It is devastating for someone to say, I don't, but as black people, we go through this anyway when it comes to racism, because a lot of the times, which is what the movie Get Out was based off of, a lot of the times white people will not give us the validation that, yes, you're going through this. Because they feel like, well, I don't do, it's not about you. I'm telling you, this is what I experienced. I'm telling you that when you do XYZ, you might not be trying to be a racist, but it's racist. And you need to fix it. This is what we deal with, and it's even sadder when we do it to each other. Anyways. Ashley acknowledges the privilege that she gets being lighter complected, which is cute. That's great. That's fine and dandy. But her and her forehead still missed the point. She said the same thing that she said on her live, which was, I've had an issue with everyone in the group, and in my opinion, the dynamics of this group are not based on the color of your skin, and it really bothers me if you do feel that way. I'm going to say this to Ashley and to anybody who's ever going to listen to this. It is not about the interactions themselves. And I said this when Ashley gave this response in her life. It's about how those interactions are received. Yes, you have had interactions with everybody on the cast. Pretty much so has Candace. You are received differently from the way Candace is received. And a lot of the times, Ashley, you are exhibiting more severe behavior than what Candace is. Yet, you are received with more understanding because the ones receiving you look like you. And you missed the point because you did not want to validate Candace. You cannot say, I experienced the privilege of colorism, but not within this group. Of course you experienced privilege in this group. Candace was moved by Ashley acknowledging the privilege. And I really wish that she wasn't. And I get what Candace was saying, like, you know, basically it's a good step forward and it removes a lot of the stigma by you saying I acknowledge it.
However,
But Candace, don't get her acknowledging her privilege misconstrued with her acknowledging your struggle and your pain. Don't get her acknowledging her experience with colorism as acknowledging your experience with colorism, because she did not do that. She said, yeah, I acknowledge the fact that I get privileges and I gain things from colorism, but I'm not going to sit here and say that you experience it, though, because I don't think what you experience is colorism, because I've had, y'all see what I'm saying. I'm not going to go back down the rabbit hole because I just climbed myself out, but I'm just saying what Ashley did is a lot of the time what white people do to us as black people. They be like, well, and even though it's probably worse because they don't even acknowledge the privilege either. Like, no, I treat everybody, I don't even see color. I don't even see color. I just see people for people. And word to Garcelle Bouvet on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills when that lady sat there in Dorit's face and said, bitch, if you don't see color, you don't see me.
Oh my God.
And when it comes to colorism, if you don't, you can't sit here and say, well, we're all, no. If you don't see the fact that Candace is a darker complected woman, then you don't see Candace. And the reason why we have to say that is because if you don't, if a white person doesn't see that I'm a black woman, or if someone who's biracial and light skinned doesn't see that I'm different than them, then you don't understand that my struggle is different. You don't understand the things that I go through and that I am going through something because of how I look. And the fact that Ashley did not acknowledge that, that's some bull crap. But we gonna move on because I could sit here and talk about this for a whole hour in of itself. But we gonna move on. But Ashley, you really missed the point. And I can't say that I was disappointed because I already knew where you were going to go because you are a white woman. Let's see. Mia had said something, but I tuned it out. And then I like what Wendy said because it mimicked something that I said in the review for the reunion for part 1. She said, I hope that since we've had this conversation, yes, we are filming the show and we do want it to be entertaining, but we still want to be mindful, but we will be mindful moving forward of dog whistles that are used in this group. And then they pan and zoomed on Giselle. And I love that because it let me know, Giselle, they see you. You think you getting away with the mess that you do, but you're not. They see you. And I feel like this was Bravo's way. It's kind of like when you're at work and you're in the corporate world and like you get put on corrective action. Like, you don't get fired, but you do get put on corrective action. Like, we see you, we had a conversation about it, and we expect behaviors to be changed. I feel like that's what they're doing. Like, Ronnie gonna get the boot, but I feel like with Giselle, because somebody at Bravo really, really likes her for whatever reason, I feel like this is a version of that. Because they calling you out, but they calling you out real subtle. Because that pan and that zoom onto Giselle's face, baby, that was everything. That was everything. And I appreciated her saying the dog whistles because she understands that colorism that the colorism that happens in this group isn't blatant, but a lot of the times it's done in a way that only the person that it's happening to knows it's happening, or people that it has happened to before, and they recognize the signs and they recognize the dog whistle. They know that it's happened. And that's something else, again, that's also consistent with narcissism, which is what I talked about in part 1, that they do a lot of dog whistling. They know how to do things where you know that they're targeting you, but on the surface it looks like it's not really that deep, but you know what it is. And the way that the colorism happens on the show within this group, it's done like that. And so I'm glad that she pointed that out. Now we move on. We got Jacqueline in the building. And is greeting everyone, and Mia looked annoyed.
Okay.
We don't really care. She says this is the first time seeing Mia since they wrapped. Mia says they both could have done better. I'm really going to be paraphrasing a lot of this segment because this was at the end and everything else before this was already a lot. And by the time we got here, I really wasn't trying to write notes out like that. So, yeah. Jackie says that it was devastating and she sees someone that wants to drag her underneath them to elevate herself. And that's exactly what it was. Mia says she doesn't want Jackie to be beneath her. She doesn't see her as a peasant. She says she feels that she was overwhelmed because when Jackie got there, she needed a lot of support or whatever. Then Jackie says, let's clear this up about my sister. My sister was my nanny initially. I knew that you didn't have that kind of support from your family, so I said, okay, let me get my sister to possibly nanny for you. So when you are saying you're giving me all the support, I literally gave you my sister. And with that, I can understand why Jackie is like, I'm going to bring my kids to you in your house because I don't have child care, because I gave my child care to you. Let this be your lesson. Stop giving people your stuff. Stop giving people your stuff at the expense of you. Stop giving people your stuff. You can help them find their own thing. Stop giving people your stuff. And I'm not saying that a person is a thing, but you know what I'm saying. Like, stop giving people of yourself when you know they're not going to respect it. Like, help them be able to do for them, but don't sacrifice you for these people out here. I don't care how long you know them. Anyway, Andy asks, when you lived with Jackie, he asked to me, and when you lived with Jackie, did you feel like an underling or less than, and now are you trying to turn the tables? I was very proud of Andy, because she tried to talk, a lot of the times when Andy would speak, they would try to talk over him, and he still asked his questions. I was very proud of Andy, very, very proud of Andy. Just make sure you're doing that with all of the franchises, okay? Don't think that you can boss up and let your nuts hang because you with the black and the biracial women's. Like, when you with the white women's, make sure, and the Mexican women's, make sure you are, the Hispanic women's, make sure you doing that with them too, okay? Mia says no, that Jackie's parents treated her like one of their own. She said that she hasn't been as close to Jackie's family this year, obviously due to the issues with Jackie. Andy asked Jackie if her family has seen the show. She said her mother hasn't because she won't let her, but the rest of her family has, and they are disgusted with Mia. Then Mia says, it's unfortunate that this had to play out on TV. We argue all the time and have said words to each other. I can go to bed and wake up the next day and forget what happened the day before and move on. Jackie says, but Mia, see, that's the problem. You are very unhinged, and I do agree with that verbiage. How do you throw a drink on someone, ice them out, then want to eat their box? You tried to tell Ashley and Candace that they couldn't come back to the house because they went to go check on Wendy. You tried to embarrass Wendy. Like, the list goes on, girl. Like, you do too much. You do too much.
You full of That's what you are. You full of
Jackie says, let's talk about how you are unhinged. It was a text message that she had sent talking about Jackie was in foreclosure and that she had food stamps and she needed to worry about what she was going to do when you can barely feed your kids and all this other stuff going on. And I said, wowzers. That's supposed to be your friend, girl. Wowzers. And Jackie said, how do you say all of that when your family business is in shambles? And again, I said, wowzers. Okay. Now, Jackie, here's the thing. I still don't live for you. Because you supported Mia and icing Wendy out. I even remember you saying, I'm not going to let her come back into this house. So I really don't care for you, but go off, sis. Do what you gonna do. Drag me a girl, drag her. And then they bring out these boxes of receipts, and then that's it. And then they get into the preview for next week. Well, really, this weekend. And I'm ready for Chris to come on the stage and tear into Giselle's behind, because as the thing that I really don't like is Giselle trying to, like, when Giselle says you made this, I think you made this bigger. No, ma'am. Because when Chris has lost business opportunities, when he has lost clients, when he has lost money, when he has lost jobs, when he has had to have it out with his family members and things of that nature, no, ma'am. No, you made this bigger than what it was. Because you were mad that Chris went in that room and let you have it for how you were treating his wife. And you thought that he was going to give you, I want to be down with you, Brandy energy, and that's not what he gave you. And because you were salty, now you want to start the mess. And I'm ready for him to tear into you. So, that is it. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about the reunion down in the comments. Let me know if you agree with anything. Let me know if you still feel like Giselle is a narcissist, or if you feel like it's something else. You just feel like she's mean or whatever. Let me know what you all think. I'll be waiting to see what you say down in the comments, and I hope to see y'all back here for part 3. And y'all have a good one. Thank y'all for watching. Bye.